Dear students, this is the exam preparation for data preparation and workflow management. This is not the recording of a live stream because for one reason or the other, that recording couldn't be saved. So here I give you a brief overview about what we have discussed in the stream. The most important thing for you to remember is to go to the exam page on our course website, and you'll actually find all of the information that is required. It is a take-home exam, which means you will do it at home, and it has to be completed within 3 hours. It's coming up on Wednesday, 20th of October, and it starts at 9 and closes at noon on that day. You don't need to register. If you are a student on the Canvas page of this course, you're already registered. The exam is going to be administered in TestVision. Here's the link. Just open it, and you can log into TestVision by clicking on Login for your Surf Connects. I urge you to take an example test down here with familiarizing yourself with TestVision. We'll just click on, do the test, and you'll be taken to an example test that allows you to get familiarized with the exam structure as in TestVision. There's no proctoring in place, so no extra software that you need to install other than the software that you used for this course. The exam will have two sections. The first section consists of personalized open and closed question. Closed question means multiple choice question shown in random order. So everybody gets it in a different order. Importantly, you can't go back and forth between questions. You have to answer them in the order that they're shown to you. You can allocate approximately 45 minutes to work on this part, and we'll test your knowledge, comprehension, and analysis skills. If you don't know what these skills are, head over to the example question section where we have examples. Then there's a practical part, which consists of 2 large questions. Okay, you can allocate about 2 hours and 15 minutes on this part. It is 2 large questions, but potentially with smaller questions, which just has to do with the fact that it's easier to grade because we can then directly spot your answer. And it mixes various learning goals. If you wonder what the learning goals of this course are, go to the syllabus and check out these learning goals. This is what you'll be expected to know for the exam, because this is what we covered in this course. So 2 examples, for example, are work on an issue posted at a GitHub repository and do some data exploration and transformation tasks. I'll give you actually a few examples in the example section. It's going to be much clearer. Well, here, automate an existing workflow. That's the automation learning goal. And cast it in a repository structure. Well, that's the GitHub learning goal. We're mixing multiple learning goals. And these skills that we test are predominantly application evaluation and creation skills. How can you prepare for the exam? Well, work through the tutorials and check whether you can do it on your own right now. Early on, you may not have been, but at this time, you should be. What you can do too is to share the links to your public GitHub repositories, fork them, clone them to your computers, and then just run them with Make and see whether they work. It's actually a brilliant check also to see whether your work runs on other computers for the T project anyways, but it's also a good practice. And then fix the problems that you encounter. Can you run it? Work on the project, continue the project, add some deployment steps like an app or a regression analysis to it, and render the output as a PDF document. I mean, there are a million of creative ways in which you can extend your own work to practice for this exam. And I do have a couple of other sections. And it may also be very useful for you to go through Tilburg Science Lab once again and familiarize yourself with a page and with a search function, because you may find some resources there as well that will help you solve this exam. So let's head over to the example questions now, and I'll go through them real quick. So in the first part, recall, this consists of personalized open and closed questions shown in random order. Here we go. Please name a tool that can be used to automate workflows. That's a knowledge question. You can look it up in your material, but if you have remembered this very well, and if you have studied and prepared very well, there is not even a reason for you to look it up. You could just name it and call it Make, right? There are other ways, other tools too that I may not be familiar with. You could just name those tools too. Please name 3 ways to deploy one's research findings. It's a knowledge question too. And again, you could browse through the course page or through all the material that we've covered, but that takes a lot of time. So I urge you to prep well to know this on the spot. So for example, we could estimate a model like a linear regression and render the output as a website or as a PDF document along with figures, or we can have an app where we allow others to explore findings that we reported. These are the three things that we covered during the course, but you may come up with other things too. What are the main benefits of exploring data using R Markdown documents compared to point and click interfaces like SPSS? Well, stuff reproduces, right? If you point and click, you can in a very difficult way only reproduce what you try to do, and it's not sure that you always get the same results. That's number one. And then number two is our Markdown documents mix code cells with like nicely formatted text. And unlike SPSS, you can actually create a good report about your analysis, which then you can directly share with co-authors. So it's not only statistical output, but also your explanation. That's a typical example of a comprehension question. What's the difference between this and manually investigating data by just like typing commands? Same thing, right? It doesn't reproduce. You type these commands, but after that, they're gone. What are the benefits from automating pipelines compared to manually executing source code files? Well, they will always execute in that same order. For example, another point is that it allows you to find bugs, like if a package is not properly installed, or whether actually when you did it manually, you just executed things in a different order in your R code. So this is actually a very good proof on whether stuff works. And the example questions with Batu, they're pretty much like formulated. So I just like to point you to these questions, go through them, and try to understand them. One of the questions that was raised is how I grade these things. Well, I have like a grading point list for each of those questions. And then for question number 2, for example, which is about automating a pipeline that sits in one R file and you need to split it up in multiple R files. What I do here is like, if you have the correct directory structure, you get 1 point. If you have separated source code from generated files, you get another point. If you have a good README, you get another 2 points. This is just an example, right? But this is how I grade these questions. Make sure, to stick to all of those sub questions that may eventually be posed. Finally, I have a few technical tips that I would like to share. Verify that your software runs. Like if you can run an R Markdown document and like knit it to PDF or HTML or both, please fix your installation. If Make isn't installed in your system yet, it just doesn't run, well, install it. Also try to run Python code and see whether it works. Also, I will ask you to sometimes zip or like compress files before you submit them. Like if you were to submit a data set or like a huge, I don't know, report or something, it may be too big for the system, so we need it to be compressed. So know how to compress and also uncompress files when you download them. Make use of cheat sheets. You can even prepare your own cheat sheet, by the way. Share it with me. I'd love to see your cheat sheets too. So print them out, have them ready so you can efficiently work on this. And revise your code before submission, right? What like a good way for these big questions is like if you have solved question 1 and it looks okay, you can already put the answer in there. But then if you still have time at the end of the exam, you could come back to the question, improve the source code a little bit and add comments here and there, which will help you, maybe even score higher in terms of grades. That's it. As for exam preparation, thanks a lot for watching this video. I apologize once again for the problems of recording the actual live stream on the exam, but I think I covered it pretty well. Make sure to talk to other students if you haven't been present in the live stream for any extra details that I may have shared and that have forgotten about by now. So thanks a bunch for watching and good luck on the exam.